History commemorates on its pages one of its immortal days, a day in which light appears and darkness disappears from skies of the state of Kuwait. On 26 February 1991, truth triumphed and falsehood was defeated, and the oppressor left our state terrified and defeated. The world stood as one in victory for Kuwait against the brutal Iraqi aggression. The sovereignty of our peaceful homeland was violated by its closest neighbor, and the world responded to this attack with denial and stood by the right of our beloved country. Kuwaiti people and armed forces joined together to battle the Iraqi forces as Kuwaitis stood united with their legitimate leadership. In a very special episode marking the 33rd anniversary of the Kuwaiti liberation, we bring you the freedom story to carry the memory of Kuwaiti people achievements, sacrifices, and giving to the homeland throughout the liberation period and after.
Well, after liberation, I thought, and so many people also thought, that Kuwait will be different. We would have a new economic order, we would have a new political relationships with other countries, we would have a new labor market depending mainly on Kuwaitis.
The Iraqi aggression against the state of Kuwait on the 2nd of August 1990 was a bewildering surprise because Kuwait is a peace-loving country that never raised up a weapon or waged war, and never failed to give generously or to provide aid to neighbors and brothers in Arab and Muslim nations. So it was impossible to explain an aggression with a number of forces that exceeded hundreds of thousands. Kuwaiti people from the first minute declared opposition, civil disobedience, and armed resistance. The aggressor believed that he will defeat these people and their will, but that peace-loving kindness and friendly people is more solid and strong than the aggressor's weapons. Kuwaiti people stood against the aggressor, and the invader was not able to find any one Kuwaiti citizen accepting his allegations, or to respond to his orders, or to agree to be within his entity. The ordeal of the Iraqi invasion highlighted the extent of the Kuwaitis' cohesion and steadfastness, and their resistance to the occupation, in addition to their rallying around their government and legitimate leadership.
The fact that you sort of stop for a moment and all these pictures of atrocities, basically, and feeling sad, mixed with the happiness of liberation, puts a very strong impression in the mind and in the heart of every Kuwaiti who went through this. And also, I think our friends, coalition friends who helped liberate Kuwait, 30 countries stood together. All these people also feel, I'm sure, comforted like us because they had a happy ending. Although we're talking about loss of human life, but we're talking about stopping of atrocities, stopping of concept of invasion. All of these came together on this day, and it's a very memorable day for us and for the international community.
The role of Kuwaiti leadership in liberating Kuwait from Iraqi occupation was crucial in rallying international support and coordinating efforts to reclaim its sovereignty. The process of liberating Kuwait started from the international legal movement, as the late Emir Sheikh Jabir al-Ahmad al-Sabah did not underestimate legal means to hold Iraq accountable for its actions during the occupation. This includes achieving justice for war crimes and human rights violations prosecuted by occupation forces against Kuwaiti territories. Kuwait requested that international legal measures and even the cessation of atrocities be brought to justice.
Yeah, because Kuwait is a constitutional democracy, Many countries, especially in the democratic countries, respected, the laws and the freedom expressed by Kuwaitis because of their constitution, because of the nature of the political system, and that of course aided Kuwait in assembling support from different sources, from different corners of the world, and that nature of the political system had a very good effect on the minds of people in the democratic world, like in Western Europe, North America, and that made it easy for the leaders of those countries to take decision of using their forces to liberate Kuwait.
The beginning of his foreign efforts, may God have mercy on him, were to participate in the Emergency Arab Summit Conference that was held in Cairo on August 10, 1990, in which the Arab leaders held a historical responsibility towards the state of Kuwait to end the brutal occupation and restore legitimacy to it. The late Emir also sent a message to the World Islamic Conference, which was held in Mecca al-Mukarramah on September 10, 1990, in which he stressed the principles of Islam and the pillars of faith, the most important of which is standing with the truth, removing injustice, and deterring the transgression group. On September 27, 1990, Kuwait addressed more than 60 heads of state, 90 heads of government, ministers and ambassadors at the 45th session of the General Assembly of the United Nations Organization in a historic moment, during which he found unprecedented appreciation from the members of the General Assembly to the United Nations, where all the attendees stood up and clapped in homage, appreciation, and support for the late Emir and Kuwait's just cause.
The Arab League, had difficulty taking a position on the occupation because it was divided on the meeting, which was on the 8th, so I think, of August 1990. But because of the position of Saudi Arabia and Egypt, it was able to take a decision by majority to support Kuwait, to restore its sovereignty, to end the occupation of the country. And of course, there were many Arab countries, their position was not really friendly. And Kuwait, of course, was shocked by their position. But fortunately, many of the Arab countries, major Arab countries, stood behind Kuwait and stood behind the liberation of Kuwait. I can mention Saudi Arabia, the Gulf State, Egypt, Syria, Morocco, and those were the countries who stood with Kuwait and also supported the liberation of Kuwait and participated with their forces in the liberation of Kuwait. Some of them, of course.
After the Iraqi invasion of Kuwait in 1990, the United Nations took several legal measures to restore Kuwait's sovereignty. One of the most important of these measures was United Nations Security Council Resolution 660, adopted on August 2, 1990. This resolution strongly condemned the Iraqi invasion of Kuwait and demanded the immediate and unconditional withdrawal of Iraqi forces. Subsequently, a series of successive UN resolutions were issued to enhance international efforts to maintain security and stability in the region and work towards the liberation of Kuwait. Among these resolutions was Resolution 678, adopted on November 29, 1990, which authorized the formation of the International Coalition to Liberate Kuwait and the use of armed forces to achieve this goal.
As we remember, the United States spearheaded the liberation forces that needed to be put together to liberate Kuwait. And it moved very quickly to Saudi Arabia, and we thank the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for allowing international military forces to come on their land, and that was one issue at the time that they had to deal with, and they managed to deal with, thank God. And naturally, even Saudi Arabia oil fields on the eastern coast were at risk from being occupied by the Iraqi forces, who already had moved into Khafji area by a few kilometers. So there was a demand by the Saudi government that Iraq should be pushed out from its land also. So United States moved very quickly, and President Bush in the Congress addressed the Congress, and I do remember when he came on TV saying that it's vital that Iraq leaves Kuwait without any conditions. And it also he said very clearly that Kuwait did not provoke war. And these were important statements to be made. Kuwait did not provoke war, so it was all an unjustified aggression.
Well, the United States from day one, they decided, that that occupation could not stand. It has to be ended. And they did all their efforts. They assembled their forces to liberate Kuwait. And the United States, UK, other European countries were very strong behind the liberation of Kuwait. And they participated with their military forces to liberate the country. And I think President Bush and the late Margaret Thatcher, Prime Minister of the UK, they made a great effort to assemble forces to liberate Kuwait, and they were decisive from day one. And of course, their position was very much appreciated by the people of Kuwait and many other friendly people of Kuwait.
After the liberation of Kuwait, the United Nations took further steps to promote stability and ensure that the Iraqi aggression against Kuwait was not repeated. Several resolutions were passed by the Security Council, including Resolution 687, adopted on April 3, 1991, which established a ceasefire and cessation of hostilities and required Iraq to destroy its weapons of mass destruction and commit to not developing them in the future. These UN resolutions played a crucial role in achieving justice and restoring security and stability in the region after the Iraqi invasion of Kuwait, and are part of the international legal framework aimed at preventing aggression and protecting the sovereignty of states and human rights.
Well, United Nations response to the occupation of Kuwait was to respect the international law and the law of sovereignty. And Kuwait, of course, was a sovereign state, and it was occupied by an invader, and that, of course, was a concern of the United Nations and major countries in the world, that should not be allowed, should not stand. And I think that was the position of the United States and Great Britain, how to face this problem, this occupation, and how to end it, and to restore the international law, the respect of the sovereignty of Kuwait. That was the main concern of the United Nations, I think. And of course, Kuwait was considered, a country, a peaceful country, and it had also it had made good help to many other countries, and that was considered important in the international community.
As ambassador to the United States, Saud Nasser al-Sabah had played a crucial role in advocating for Kuwait's cause on the international stage. He has engaged in diplomatic efforts to raise awareness about the Iraqi occupation of Kuwait and garner support from the United States government and other key allies. Al-Sabah worked tirelessly to build international support for Kuwait's liberation, as he utilized his diplomatic skills and connections to lobby for action against Iraq and rally support from other countries, including within the United Nations and among Gulf Cooperation Council GCC members.
Yeah, that treaty was, of course, very important for the protection of Kuwait. Since it was inception in 1998, yeah, and 1898, yeah. Great Britain came to support Kuwait during the crisis of 1961 with the late Prime Minister of Iraq, Abdul Karim Qasim, and in 1990 also they respected the friendship with Kuwait and the spirit of the treaty, and they put all their effort to liberate Kuwait. And of course, our relationship with the UK stands strong till the moment, and we are always dependent on their support and their friendship, and Great Britain has a source of friendship to the Kuwaitis, and the Kuwaitis they love Great Britain.
While the Kuwaiti leadership was seeking to restore the sovereignty of the dear homeland by its efforts in various countries and forums, a group of young men called the Masila Group, which is one of the Kuwaiti resistance groups during the Iraqi invasion, who had taken Al Ghurain area as their headquarters for operations. The events of the battle began on the morning of February 24th, 1991, when a group of the Iraqi army knocked on the door of Al Ghurain's house to search it or steal its contents. And when no one responded to the knocking, one of the soldiers jumped over the market wall of the house trying to enter. So one of the members of the Masila group who were in the house shot the soldier. Of the 31 people in the group, 19 were in the house. The Iraqi army surrounded the house and opened fire on the resistance members. The Iraqi army was supported by tanks and RPGs in return for the light armament of the Masila group. However, the battle continued until 6 o'clock in the evening. It ended with the killing of 3 members of the resistance and the capture of 9 others, whose bodies were found dumped in separate places after they were tortured, and 7 members of the group managed to survive. The Battle of Beit al-Ghurain is a national epic that highlights the role of the Kuwaiti resistance during the Iraqi invasion, as it united all segments of Kuwaiti society in a national image. It is worth mentioning that the National Council for Culture, Arts and Letters turned the house into a museum to commemorate the martyrs and this epic. On April 14, 1994, the commander of the coalition forces, Norman Schwarzkopf, said during his visit to the museum, "My presence in the residence makes me wish that we had come 4 days before our arrival, and if we had done so, perhaps this tragedy would not have occurred."
If you compare the time that went by, we're talking about 30, 35 years from the time of invasion and from the time of liberation of Kuwait. Kuwait's outlook about its relationship with Iraq on all fronts continues to be a friendly relationship. it puts aside, it overcomes the aftermath of war, aftermath of doing what they did to Kuwait in terms of making life easy, difficult for the Kuwaitis during the war, and making it difficult for the international community. So the Kuwaitis until today, and we see with time, that not only the people, but the government maintains a strong, friendly relationship with the neighbor, Iraq. As a matter of fact, Kuwait never stopped to help any kind of humanitarian help for Iraq, for instance. Anytime Iraq had a problem with food, Iraq with medicine, with relationships with neighbors, Kuwait was always a forefront rider to help cement and get over any kinds of problems. So its outlook towards Iraq has always been a positive one and continues to be. And we can see, especially in the last 10 years, the Kuwait Fund for Arab Development has contributed to the reconstruction of the educational system, of housing, of schools, and continues to do so in Iraq, giving them soft loans and assisting them in rebuilding the country, especially now that it's expanding, and the education is an important aspect of a country's well-being and development. Kuwait believes in these things, so it continues to do so. Plus, it avoids any kind of a confrontation, disputes, even though some people inside the government, for instance, National Assembly, or people who still hold a grudge, let's say, against Kuwait, Kuwait always overlooks this and looks at the positive side, looks at the full side of the cup, as we say, try to maintain a friendly relationship, and it believes in this. The people of Kuwait believe in this. Kuwaitis have learned to be peace-loving people, and they don't, let's say, digress from this drive in their feelings and wishes with any neighbor, especially with Iraq. So it has been a positive, good, progressive relationship, and I believe it will continue to do so.
Following the liberation of Kuwait, the country faced immense challenges in rebuilding its infrastructure, economy, and society. Kuwaitis played a pivotal role in leading the reconstruction efforts, mobilizing resources and implementing policies to facilitate the recovery process and restore normalcy to the nation. Overall, Kuwaiti and the legitimate leadership demonstrated resilience, determination, and diplomatic acumen in efforts to liberate the state of Kuwait. Contributions were instrumental in rallying international support, coordinating military operations, and ultimately reclaiming their nation's sovereignty. The liberation of Kuwait from Iraqi occupation stands as a testament to the resilience, courage, and unwavering spirit of the Kuwaiti people. It is a story of triumph over tyranny, of hope in the face of despair, and of unity in the midst of adversity.
Yeah, well, I think since liberation, now we have a new generation. Those who were born in the 90s, they are now in their 30s or mid-30s, and they are responsible for the future of Kuwait. And I wish that they will get better education, better training, be able to lead in the future. That's what I hope to.
Kuwait has always been a well-known country for doing trade. Most of the Kuwaitis always learned to be good tradesmen. We had nothing else to do, actually, but we did it well. With intelligence, with consultation, having calculated risks. They calculate the risk very well, the Kuwaiti merchants, and they're open-minded, and they are also, in a way, adventurous. These qualifications give the Kuwaiti businessmen an advantage to be able to grow, to be able to deal with international community, to bring business, exchange business. And we have now some local products which we export. Kuwait has become a good hub for import and export, because of the laws and regulations which are available for businessmen to do. These benefits have created, let's say, a system, a commercial system, a financial system, supported by a legal system. Those three parts of the triangle must work together so that business can flourish and international investors feel invited, feel safe to come and invest in Kuwait, which they have been. Aside from the oil business, we have the stock market. The stock exchange in Kuwait has been known to be very active, very, let's say, organized, and also profit-making. Aside from some of the drawbacks it had some time ago, but this is part of the growth of any system. So I believe now the Kuwait stock market is a leading stock market in the region, and it is attracting international businessmen. The banking system in Kuwait, supported by the Central Bank of Kuwait, play a big role in providing financing, safe financing, and safe support for the expats and for the locals to run their business. I believe all these do work towards Kuwait becoming a financial center. Still, it hasn't matured to that point, but it does have the elements of creating this financial center. Especially that the government has provided for the international investor to come to Kuwait, and providing for them facilities, guidance, support to help them come to Kuwait with a let's say with a comfortable feeling that their business will not see any problem, but it will see the light to work properly, and it is increasing by the day. So these factors, these elements work together. As I said, the legal, the financial, and the political aspects, they work together to the stability of the country. And once the country is stable, international investors come and are willing to, comparatively speaking, of course, and Kuwait has been known for being a very good financial center in the region, and its dinar, very highly valued among all the international currencies. That itself is an asset for Kuwait, supported by its well-run organization, financial organization, Kuwait, and legal organization. So these factors put together do give Kuwait the type of status in the international community to be a safe country to come and do business with, which ultimately would lead to becoming a stronger financial center by the days that come, inshallah.
As we reflect on the events of those tumultuous days, we are reminded of the immense sacrifices made by countless individuals who dared to dream of freedom and stood firm in their determination to reclaim their homeland. Their courage, bravery, and sacrifices will forever be etched into history, serving as a beacon of inspiration for generations to come. The liberation of Kuwait was not just a military victory. It was a victory for justice, for democracy, and for the fundamental rights of all people to live in peace and dignity. It serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of standing up against oppression and tyranny, and of the enduring power of the human spirit to overcome even the darkest of times. As we celebrate the liberation of Kuwait, let us honor the memory of those who gave their lives in defense of freedom, and let us reaffirm our commitment to upholding the values of peace, justice, and democracy for all. May the lessons of Kuwait's liberation continue to inspire us to strive for a world where liberty and justice prevail, and where the rights and dignity of every individual are respected and protected.